Hello everyone, and welcome back to Misfits Racing League action. Coming from Canada, my name is Strifium, and joining me for the Russian Grand Prix, of course, from the land down under, as always, it's Mick Al. How are you doing today, Mick?
G'day, everybody. Strifium, I'm doing very well, thanks for asking, and I hope all of our wonderful viewers are doing just as well. We saw quite the race in Tier 2 a few moments ago, and now it's time for the big guns. We step it up to the Tier 1 grid, and I'm really keen to see what kind of racing these guys are able to provide us, because more often than not, Strif, I'm sure you can agree with me, and I'm sure our viewers who have been sticking with us throughout the majority of the season will agree that these races go hard at it, and we should be in for a really good show this evening.
Oh, I'm extremely excited. I even said it to Unicorn while casting Tier 2 that if Tier 2 was any representation of how Tier 1 could go, I am beyond excited for this race. It was an absolute thrilling campaign by the Tier 2 drivers. Of course, you participated in a Grand Prix earlier today as well, or yesterday in your case, with the Oceanic Grid, of course. And we've had EU now, so this is our fourth Russian Grand Prix of the week. So we've got a little bit of intel. We've got a little bit of information about what could happen in this circuit with a full grid of racers, and that's what we have here today is a full grid of racers. Of course, round 17 action. We have Japan next week, following that the US, Mexico, Brazil, and then we have Abu Dhabi. If we look at who's on the grid today, it is just jam-packed with pure pace, McCown. It has been all season. We've had a few drivers come and go due to time constraints and things like this, but if you look at it, we've got still Brainstew and Becky B over at Mercedes, of course, Alex Biddo and Brownie over at Ferrari. We have Swifty and Microlander for Red Bull. Swifty's been here since day one for this season. We've had Yoda, Rackety at McLaren, Remco Van Putten and BTFU for Renault, Shenjay and Freeware for AlphaTauri. We have Fubar and Sandako at Racing Point, with Nigel and Jean over at Alfa Romeo, Astrodate, and of course Valu for Haas, and that's King and Ace rounding out the 20 drivers on the full-time roster here in Tier 1. Take a look at the standings, Mikhail. Things are very tight in the standings. If you look right now, Shenjay is leading 209. He got that far ahead of Yoda because Yoda not having the best performance last week in Singapore. Yes, I said it. I'm sorry, Yoda. But of course, Freeware, his teammate there in third. Things are very tight for the top three. And if you look from all the way down from third to realistically sixth position, there is, I think it's 12 points, 13 points there for up for grabs between them. So that's a lot of positions there. It's AlphaTauri, Mercedes, and Ferrari, your top three constructors. And it's a very tight battle between all of the constructors. And one key thing about the constructors right now for Tier 1 and Tier 2, of course, is that for Tier 1 and Tier 2, at the end of the season, the totals are going to get combined. You may notice that none of these drivers are able to reserve. They've not reserved in either of the other leagues because of how we work the points. So it's going to be very fun when it all comes down to it. But all that being said, Mikhail, I think we're ready for some Sochi.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Looks like we're just getting one of the reserve drivers in for Ace Ritchie, who unfortunately isn't able to be with us this evening. But we do have all 20 drivers in, so we should be getting underway shortly. One of the key things to notice about the standings as well is that just looking at the database, right? Freeware, who's currently sitting third in the championship with 132 points, is yet to win a race. So he's the only one in the top 8 who is winless this season. He's had quite a few podiums and a couple second places at both Baku and Hungary, but just missing that elusive first win here in Tier 1. So we'll see if he's able to have things go his way tonight. But I just thought that was quite an interesting statistic.
I love the stats. I love the statistics. I like pulling that type of data, man. We've had so many races, so many drivers. It's really fun when you can dive into statistics and fun facts like that, Mick.
Yeah, and conversely, Chenjay and Brownie in first and sixth, respectively, have the most wins of any single driver in Tier 1 with 3 apiece. So we'll see if they're able to add to that total this evening. But in terms of the Russian GP itself, I only see a few clouds here for qualifying Stryfium, so it should be quite smooth sailing for most of the drivers here. But we're yet to find out what it's going to be like for the race.
Well, before we find out what it's going to be for the race, I'm going to take you through who is racing on the grid today. We have Valu at the top of the timing tower. Becky B is here as well. It's the two Renaults, Remco Van Putten and BTFU. We have the Racing Point of Sindako as well. King there in the Williams. Rackety here in McLaren. We have Yama filling in over at Red Bull. Microlander partnering him as always. It's his full-time seat there. Excuse me. Some idiot running out the top 10 at the moment in the other Racing Point. He's been a consistent force on the grid in that reserve capacity, and we know he's quite partial to the Racing Point. Pecco Perez being his favorite driver, of course. Freeware there in 11th, Nigel in 12th. We've got Jean in 13th, Astrodite here in 14th, of course. Brownie, usually racing with somebody in most of these equations. Full-time driver over at Ferrari. He's in the grid today. Shenjay's here as well, looking to extend that championship lead. Rhapsody filling in for the Williams team as well. Yoda, Bido, Brainstew on the grid. First driver out of the pit lane is, if I'm not mistaken, Nigel over in the Alfa Romeo.
You are mistaken, Striff. It's Valu in the Haas, at least on my screen. He's making his way
He is
through
camouflaged.
through sector 2.
He's camouflaged over there, I swear.
Yeah, it's quite hard to see that grey Haas dot on the track map against the already quite bland track map itself. But he's making his way through turns 8 and 9 just on his warm-up lap. And just talking about the lap itself around Sochi, it can be quite a hard one to master because you really have to push those track limits. You really have to flirt with the curbs, as it were, and flirt with the walls as well, because some of the walls sort of cut in very, very suddenly. So it's very hard to really judge, where that wall is going to end up. But all these guys here in Tier 1 do have quite a bit of experience under their belt, so hopefully we won't see too many issues of that nature. But Valu will be the first one to set a lap here around the wonderful and controversial Sochi Autodrome, so we'll see what the Haas driver is able to do starting the lap through turn 18 now. It's important to get the best possible exit that you can. A little bit of a snap, but it doesn't seem to have cost him too much. DRS wide open. We make our way through turn 1 completely flat out. Remco Van Putten, you can see on the right hand side, leaving the pit lane, coming down the main straight, heading towards turn 2, just around the 100-meter board, using all the curb that you can, and keep things tight on the exit for turn 3. Going through probably the most iconic corner on the circuit, just hugging it, that left-hand side curb. Under the bridge we go, turn 4, using all the curb available on both the inside and the outside. Make our way into sector 2 now, turn 5. Quite a bit slower than you would expect. That corner seems to tighten up real fast, but turn 6 completely flat out. Turn 7 down a couple gears into 5th gear. Again, you can see him using the green AstroTurf on the exit, then through turns 8 and 9, keeping things nice and tidy through turn 10 now, 4th gear. Using that green AstroTurf again just to maximize the width of the track. DRS now wide open. You hug the car to the right-hand side for turn 11, the little sweep to the right, then bring the car over to the left for turn 12, the sweep to the left, and then hard on the brakes just before the 100, down into turn 13. Hard to be on the brakes there as you are forced to turn the car. Very easy to lock that front right tire, but through the technical part of the lap, turns 15 and 16, very easy to lose the rear of the car, and he actually does that, but he's able to keep it on track and out of the wall. So he's able to finish his banker lap, and then through turn 17 and finally turn 18. What's the time going to be, Striffium? It is a 1 minute 29.995. So despite the slip through turns 15 and 16, quite a competitive lap time from the Haas. So we'll see what the other drivers are able to even match or beat that lap time.
Variety of drivers were coming around now, heading into the pit lane here. For someone to follow, we'll jump on with the new reserve of Alex Yamamoto in the Red Bull now.
Microlander coming across the line in the other Red Bull seat, able to do a 1 minute 29.730. Freeware coming across now with a 1 minute 30.1. And something that I think was omitted from the pre-show is that this track, very, very easy to extend the track limits. Like I was saying, you really need to push the track limits, but you have to really flirt with those white lines, because even a millimeter over, and that is going to be your lap time completely done and dusted. So lots of drivers pulling into the pits on their first run just because they weren't really able to keep the clean lap together, and it's a long lap as well. The hoping that the pole time will be somewhere around the low to mid 29s. I know that Shen Jie, our current championship leader, is capable of doing a low 29 around here. So we'll see if he's able to bring that sort of flair in this qualifying session. But yeah, these drivers will only have time for the 3 runs realistically. They won't really be able to get that 4th run in if they require it, as the times are slowly starting to come in on the board. Roko Van Putten setting himself into 6th with a 1 minute 30.4. Brownie behind him at 10th behind. Yeah, Alex Yamamoto with a 31.1, and Aphrodite currently the last of time setters so far with a 31.3 Strifium.
Rackety in 14th on the timing tower right now is creeping up to his teammate. That's Yoda, and I think Yoda's going to give him a cheeky toe here down the DRS straight, Mikkow. And we've seen some toe action throughout the past few campaigns from drivers, most commonly with the Ferraris of Brownie and Alex Biddo. There goes Rackety now, down through into turn 13, clipping that inside curbing. Now switching back to the inside for 14. Keeping it pretty clean, and we'll have to see what this lap time is going to be, but it's looking like it's going to be good, especially if that toe gives him an extra edge.
Yeah, the toe didn't really seem to phase him on his braking point basically at all, so he will get the full benefit of that. But, the final sector, it's been clean, Striff, but it hasn't been the fastest that we've seen. It's a 1 minute 31.2, so he's a 10th ahead of Aphrodite, but it's still second last of the time setters thus far.
Some idiot in the racing point, Mick. He's purple coming through sector 2. Making his way down into turn. Yeah, he's making his way down into the penultimate turn. We'll see what he's able to do in, of course, the racing point to the line. It is P2 for some idiot at 129.909. Just 2/10 off of where Microlander stands at the moment. We have 10 minutes remaining here on our clock.
His teammate and the other racing point, Sindako, has now just started his flying lap. S-King there just on the pit exit, just make sure that he keeps that Williams car well away from the racing point. Sindako, one of the newer drivers to the grid, but he has shown quite the flash of pace. Getting consistent points finishes, if my memory serves me correct. So I'm curious to see what he's able to do, and if he's able to match his teammate Summitit, who himself is quite the experienced and decorated driver, but Sindako having a bit of a slide out through turn 5. That's not going to help the lap time whatsoever, Strip.
No, it's really tricky coming through this section of circuit as well when you get extra temperature into those tires. You saw him do it again nearly there, coming off wide. Now, one thing to talk about, Sindako, as you said, very new to this grid, and someone else who he's kind of joined on this grid, Sindako and Brainstew. We have 2 Italians on this grid, very, very fast, but coincidentally enough, they're both driving Mercedes-powered units. We'll have to see how they go through the season with some of that happening over in the power unit department. But it is going to be Sindako now, Mikkow, looking to finish this lap, heading down the straight into the penultimate turn. And we'll just have to see if he carries on with this time. Yes, he does. What is it going to be? Coming through the final turn to the line now. There it goes, P15.
Oh, he invalidates. He invalidates over the line. Went a bit too wide as Chenjie, our current championship leader, beats Microlander by a whole 2/10. That's a 1 minute 29.5 as his first lap time on the board. But yeah, super unfortunate for Sindako. He kept that lap clean throughout the entirety. He even crossed the line to set the lap time.
So it threw the previous lap out. I saw it jump onto the timing tower and snap back. So did he get
Aphrodite
looking quick.
Stopped at turn 3 and he's been disqualified from the session.
He's looking quick over there in the wall, apparently. What has happened to him?
He's just, well, whatever's happened, he is out of this qualifying session and will be starting last. So the drama starts already here at Sochi.
What has happened to him? He's not going to be thrilled about that. That's not the good way to start the Russian Grand Prix at all. John Cross is 10th quickest here in the Alfa Romeo. And I do believe Yama has just begun a flyer behind him.
Oh, the 2 Alpha Tauri Strifium through turns 11 and 12. Doing the toe once again. Freeware, he's 4/10 up on his current lap time. This is looking pretty good from the Alpha Tauri, the German driver, to see if he can match his teammate or at least get that car in that second position for that front row lockout. Keeps it nice and tidy through turns 15 and 16. Now hard on the gas. He makes his way through the penultimate corner. Now heading towards the final corner. You really have to attack this apex to just try and get as much time as you can. It is a front row. It's a 1 minute 29.6 for the German, and he lines up right alongside his teammate, and that is a very, very strong result for the AlphaTauri squad there.
Yeah, King behind him in the 8th position as well, Mikhail, and it's the other Williams of Rhapsody on an outlap who will be looking to improve on that 131, excuse me, 121 did quite impressive. 131.277. BTFU on a flyer. I've known him to quite enjoy this Russian circuit, but he's just cut a major turn, Mikhail. So that lap's thrown out.
Very, very unfortunate for him. My eyes are now fixed on this Mercedes going into Sector 3 now. Of course, I'm talking about your favorite Italian friend, it's Brainstew. He's making his way through, as Valo actually coming across the line with a 1 minute 29.3. So he puts that Haas 2/10 clear of Chenjay for that provisional pole. Let's see if Brainstew is able to get close to that one. It comes to the final corner now, 29 on the clock. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 29.912. Not 3 milliseconds behind some idiot, but that time is good enough for P6. And with only about 7 minutes remaining on the clock, he has enough time for another run. But the time is certainly ticking down.
Brownie's coming through the penultimate turn. I'm curious to see what he's able to do coming through Sector 3 now. To the line is the Ferrari. It's good for P11. 0.322 from him was the improvement.
Yeah, probably not exactly where he wants to be in that scarlet red Ferrari. He's only 2/10 off his teammate, but the difference between 7th and 11th is quite astounding, to be honest. You know, you really need that track position around here, because once the DRS transform, we've seen it all week, it can be very, very difficult to overtake unless you have, so much more speed than the driver in front, or the driver in front makes a mistake, which in Tier 1 isn't very likely. All these drivers very, very experienced and all very, very fast, and I'm sure that they've been working at Sochi all through the week for this moment, just to make sure that they have that consistency down pat and make sure they can keep the penalties to a bare minimum strip.
Well, gap on this grid is extremely tight right now, and there's a couple of DRS zones that make things quite tricky. And that run through turn 2, a lot of drivers, they mistake turn 1 as, of course, the first major right-hand turn. Turn 1's actually on the straight, essentially speaking. You can see it's got a little bit of a kink, as they'd call it in Kailami. But of course, turn 2, that first hard braking down at the end of the straight, and that is going to really shake things up. We saw it in the European grid on Tuesday when those fast drivers at the front of things get really anxious.
Yeah, some idiot, just going back to this qualifying session, was able to improve on his previous time. He's now got a 1 minute 29.6 to his name. He's now up into 4th place, only 400ths behind Freeware. But no one really able to challenge Valu as of yet. Sindako is now on his 2nd attempt of a flying lap. Nigel as well has yet to set a lap time in this session. He's making his way through turn 3 as well. BTFU still in the pit lane, so he will be leaving it to a one-shot qualifying, presumably, and as will Nigel, as he cuts a massive chunk of that inside at turn 4. So he will be definitely leaving it to a one-shot qualifying. Let's see how Sindako's going. He's just making his way through turn 10 into the sweep of turn 11. And he still seems to be on a valid lap time as well. So we'll see where he's able to put that racing point. Is it going to be good enough for the top 10 in this very, very tight grid? You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, it is tight, it is compact, and it is exactly what we love to see here at Sochi.
Oh, big time. And you know what else we love to see? We like to see fast driving and great support from the community. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Rutanius, thank you very much for the 2 gifted subs. Congrats to Mr. Gadwin and Pule. There goes Sindako Mikau, P6 out of the Italian, right ahead of, well, let's say his countryman rival in Brainstew. And Brainstew, I imagine, will be heading out of the pit lane soon to see if he can improve on that.
Yeah, well, we're in this bit of a lull. We have a few drivers out there on flying laps. I think Alex Bitto is one of them. He's making his way through the sweep of turn 11 as we speak. Becky B is also on an outlap. A driver that, in all honesty, hasn't really been that impressive coming in. He's had a few good results, but certainly I certainly at least was hoping to see him a bit higher up on the pecking order, but we'll see what he's able to do. He's currently sitting in 13th, about to start his flying lap. Alex Bitto making his way into the penultimate corner now. He's about to finish his second flying lap of the session. He's 2 and a bit tenths up, and he actually spins it over the line, and that is it. He was able to cross the line and improve to a 1:29.663. But that is the best of the Spaniard can hope for.
That is not good for him. Not having, well, he can't go back around, so I guess the tires are okay. Wow.
That's the definition of going out with a bang, Strip. I'll tell you that much.
Somebody had done that earlier today. I'm trying to put my finger on who it was. It may have been Kai. It may have been Kai who was pushing. But that was quite the exit, I'll say that.
And we'll see where that time will land at the end of the session. It's quite a competitive lap time, if I do say so myself. But with how competitive this grid is, even the slightest of margins can be the difference between third or fourth where he is now and probably around 7th or 8th. So it really depends on how much this track has evolved and who is able to string that lap together when it counts. Valo, our current provisional pole sitter, has just started his final run of the session, as we just have over 60 seconds left in this qualifying session. It should be quite interesting to see how these drivers go on their final runs, Strifia.
Gap from first down to 15th position right now on this grid. 1.1 second. That is a tight grid where DRS can come into play and where there is a unique amount of overtaking opportunities here around Russia, but you have to watch out for those track limits. Yama improves his time. It's good for P16 McCown. He's slotted himself in to 1.2. He slotted himself into 1.2 of the race leader. He's in 16th position. So things on this grid are very tight.
Very, very tight indeed. I do believe the next driver to finish their flying lap will be Microlander, I think. Yes, it will be Microlander. Currently sitting P6 with a 29.7. We'll see what time he's able to do as the checkered flag is about to drop. He goes into second with a 1:29.509. That is a very, very nice lap time. He's able to dethrone Chenjay yet again. Chenjay starting his final run of the session. The checkered flag dropping in any moment now. Des King able to start his final flying run of the session as well. We'll see what these drivers are able to do. Valo retiring from the session, so he's obviously had an issue. He's just pulled back into the pit lane, so he won't be improving. Sindako is done with his session as well. Brownie's still in the pit, so he's not going to be able to improve either. And my eyes, or at least my curiosity strip, is on these final two who have yet to set a lap time here in this session.
Well, they're getting lap times in now, McGow. They're both on invalidated runs, and they're both going to catch a checkered flag at the end of this session. No lap times coming out of BTFU or Nigel in this 18-minute qualifying, McGow.
That is very, very unfortunate. They'll certainly have it all to do in the race. Some idiot, also on an invalidated lap time. We'll see what he's able to do. It was a 29.578, so he was able to improve by 10, but of course, it doesn't count as the checkered flag has dropped. Rhapsody slots himself into P9 with a 1:30.023. Very, very nicely done from him.
Rain Stu jumps Sindako.
Yes, he jumps Sindako for that 7th place and superiority here for the Italian squad. He is got himself into P7 with a 29.787. The two AlphaTauris now coming across the line. Chenjay, it's not good enough for pole. He's only good enough for 2nd place. He's 500ths off of a provisional pole. He comes across with a 3.393. Freeware, his teammate, right behind him with a 0.411. And this grid has absolutely spiced up. Both McLarens heading into the pits now, along with Microlander in that Red Bull. And I think it's just John, maybe? No, he's heading into the pits as well. So I do believe, Striff, that is the grid. So congratulations to Valu on what I believe is his maiden pole position here.
I'm trying to think back to last week, and it's escaping me. I'll have to get one of the
I'm pretty sure
statisticians.
Chenjay was on pole last week. Last week in Singapore. But yeah, so very, very nice lap from Valu. He will be starting on pole position. But Chenjay and Freeware, the two AlphaTauris, right behind them. And from the discussions with the other drivers and the other grids, pole position not necessarily where you want to be, because that slipstream down into turn 2 is very, very powerful.
All of these drivers very capable of being on pole, especially these top three within 1/10 of one another, of course. Valu in the Haas on pole position. It was a 129.343 around Sochi. Shenjay, a 129.393, just 500ths precisely off of the pole sitter, with Freeware, his teammate, right behind him by just a tenth, just shy of 200ths of a second. Freeware behind Shenjay right now. Microlander, Bido 4-5, and that is, of course, the top five. We'll go through the rest of this grid on the formation lap.
Absolutely crazy, crazy times and crazy, crazy gaps all the way down this grid. I think the entire grid, for those who set the times, was within 1.4, I think, 1.4-ish seconds. So that's very, very close. And this isn't even F1 esports drift. This is, just a run of a mill. We're here in MRL Tier 1, but the gaps saying otherwise. There's a extremely, extremely competitive all the way down this field. So I can't wait to see if there's going to be, some drama here, because Russia, it's circuit that has certainly provided a lot of drama for the races gone by.
Most definitely.
So hopefully we'll have a good dose of it, but hopefully nothing super, super controversial. But nevertheless, the timer ticks to 0, and we will be going underway with this formation lap. So run us through the rest of this grid, if you please, Striffium.
Rhapsody on my end here. I have a little bit of a desync. I'm not sure if you're getting it as well.
I can confirm, yes, I'm receiving that.
Yeah, there we
like
have it.
you, but a little patience never hurt. Good things come to those who wait. So, and it looks like the F1 community has been waiting quite some time, but that's a discussion for an entirely different day.
We're not going to go there today.
We're not going to go there today. So run us through the rest of this grid, if you will, Striff.
Well, Valu, Shenjay, Freeware, your top three, of course. We have Microlander, Alex Bido rounding out the top five in the Red Bull and Ferrari there. Some idiot right behind in the Racing Point. Brainstew in 7th, Sindako, the other Italian on this grid behind him, in 8th. We have Rhapsody in 9th, Yoda bringing up the top 10 in the McLaren from Albania. Of course, he is the runner-up in the championship standings presently, and he will be looking to get back there. Yoda, a good history around this circuit, Mikal. We saw him come back to front twice in Season 2. We haven't brought that up yet. We'll see what he's able to do today. King in 11th position, Becky in 12th. That's Remco Van Putten in 13th. Brownie in 14th, John in 15th position here, Yama in 16th, Rackety 17th, BTFU rounding out that second last row, as well as Nigel and Ashrite bringing up the rear in this one. And yeah, Yoda, he's had some real interesting races around this Sochi circuit. You and I commentated it last season. He came back to front twice and took a win around here. Although now he is in some serious competition with this grid. We've seen how tight things are from quali. He's really going to have his head on a swivel today.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how he goes from that 10th spot, smack bang in the middle of this grid. But just talking tires for a little bit, the entire back 10 almost on those yellow stripe medium compound tires, looking to go a bit longer, go for the alternate strategy, except for Yamamoto and Rackety in 16th and 17th respectively, as we're coming to the end of our formation lap, and the tension is certainly building. The clouds are looming, and so there's not going to be any glare for any of these drivers, but certainly the pressure is building. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is MRL Season 3 action for round number 17 here at Sochi. We're, of course, here at Russia, as I think Astrodite is just making his way to the grid now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights ahead of the drivers. We'll see if the bug, yes, the bug plagues us yet again, just waiting for the cars to be jumping off the line. It's lights out and away we go here at Sochi. Looks like a very, very nice start from Freeware. He is now side by side with his teammate, and he's looking to get his way past Value as well. They're now 2 by 2 heading down through turn 1. No major issues just yet. All the drivers are trying to find a bit of space, but it'll be Value leading them away, and then it's Freeway and Alex Bitter around the outside of Chenjay into that third place Microlander as well, going side by side with Brains through turn 3. This is absolutely incredible racing. It's 4 wide behind them between the Renault, the Williams, and the Racing Point and McLaren. I think that's Rhapsody all the way down to Yoda in that battle for P8 in the on a track. But absolutely crazy start. Nigel's making his way up into 14th and 15th. We have a yellow flag at turn 4 yet again. That's Becky B. He's gone around and has massive damage to that front wing strip here.
Yeah, he's got a lot of damage on that front wing. We've seen so many of these drivers come super close. Remco Van Putten in 9th position now. He's on those mediums. He's dispatched both Yoda and Sindako.
Absolutely crazy start to this one. You can just see all the cars just basically nose to tail throughout this entire circuit. That's one of the Renaults going a bit wide. That's Remco Van Putten, I think, and he's having a bit of an issue. He's now just fighting away with Sindako, currently in that P9 spot, but Remco is the leader on those yellow stripe medium compound tires. We'll see what he's able to do, but meanwhile at the front of this grid, Valu, Freeware, and Alex Bitter having a great start, and Chenjay having a less than ideal start down in 4th place. He's going to be looking to make up a bit of ground as we start lap 2 of this 27 lap campaign.
Brainstew has Microlander right up his gearbox right now. It's a battle between the Mercedes and Red Bull. Where have we seen that before? Brainstew's having a look at Chenjay. He saw the weave to the inside to get into that rear view mirror. We'll have to see what's happening with Alex Bido as well. He's in 3rd position. He's doing well to keep it there for the time being. Now we've got an exchange. There goes Sindako around the outside of turn 3. That's Rhapsody holding on in 9th now. He's got Remco Van Putten and, of course, Yoda barring down behind him, and he's going to have a look once again, wheel to wheel with Sindako back down the inside here through turn 5. Is he going to hold it? No. Sindako keeps it in 8th, but he's so tight to the inside here. Sindako giving him a little squeeze, telling him, hey, you hold off a second here. And this is going to compromise him massively to the train behind. You've got Remco Van Putten on these medium compound tires charging. Yoda now, he's looking at him, and he's on the softs, which is theoretically, of course, the quicker tire right now. Look at the exit. Look at the traction coming down through the inside. Using that battery right now. No DRS into the equation just yet, and that's exactly what scares me, Mikal. We haven't even got the DRS yet, and things are still this tight.
Yeah, all that fighting between Rhapsody and Sindako is certainly going to cost him in the long term, because now that gap between the 2 racing points is 1.6 seconds, and of course you have to be within that 1 second gap to have that rear wing open, that extra for that drag reduction system, as it's called, the DRS. As we start lap 3 of this race, the system has actually now been enabled, so we'll see at the front of this grid, these rear wings flap open, and the drivers will get an extra bit of top speed, about an extra 20 kph down these 2 DRS zones between turns 1 and 2, and between turns 10 and 13. So
Sindako, sorry, Mikhail, Sindako, Rhapsody fighting here. Still Sindako in 8th. Now this battle has compromised Rhapsody massively. Has it compromised Sindako as well? Yoda now looking to the inside. He gets behind the rear of that racing point. Very tight maneuvering there from the McLaren.
Yeah, it's going to be very important that Yoda makes the most of these soft compound tires. You don't want to be stuck behind the mediums, the medium runners, especially when the softs have a lot of life left to give. We are, of course, on lap 3 of this race strip, and it's already been so action-packed. But the field is definitely split into 2 trains. You have the train for the top 7, and then you have the rest, and then you have Rackety and Becky B, who unfortunately have needed to make that early stop onto hards to try and hope and pray for a safety car that brings them back into contention. But at the front of this grid, things are just, very stale, I guess. They're all just sort of putting in the laps, all just doing the lap times, and no real attacking opportunities thus far. But I think that's Nigel. He's now lost 2 positions. He's down into 15, now going wheel to wheel with his teammate. He is now down at, and Yamamoto as well is going to shoot up the inside heading into turn 15. What a crazy move. But the fastest laps are certainly starting to come in for these front runners. Freeware able to take about a 10th and a half out of Valu's lead, of course, thanks to that DRS. but the battery usage speaks otherwise, Striff.
Yoda's looking at Sandaka. We're going to jump on with that, coming down the DRS straight here, and there it goes, the McLaren ahead. Yama's looking at Jean as well. See if anything's happening between these two. Nothing just yet. Back on with Sandaka. We'll see if he's able to do something about Yoda moving into 8th position here. And there goes Remco Van Putten, wheel to wheel with Brownie now. Around the outside is the Renault. Holding well is the German in the Ferrari. Giving Remco a good old squeeze, making him nervous near the wall there. Brownie holding in 11th at the moment, and there's still exchanges going on as Yama has made it ahead into 14th position on those softs.
He's certainly making the most of those soft compound tires, just using the extra grip and the extra, just the extra grip and the extra traction that he's able to get out of those tires, just to really slingshot his way up this grid and make positions early, which is going to be so important come later down the race. But I'm just keeping my eye on this battle at the front as well. Things seem to be line of sight, and Freeway is actually on the cusp of that 1 second gap, so Valo putting in the work. He's really trying to break that slipstream, break that DRS range, I should be saying. But it doesn't seem to quite be enough yet. But the gaps for the top three still, they're starting to spread out a little bit. Alex Bitter out of sight that 1 second now, so he's going to be under threat from Chenja, and he's past the detection point now. Is he going to have that rear wing open? I don't think so, Strip. No, it's not. So Alex Bitter has broken the train, and he's going to be under major threat from Chenja in, well, maybe even half a lap's time.
Brain Stew under major threat from Microlander as well. This fight between the Mercedes and the Red Bull rages on, if you will, and Chenja in that other bull, theoretically speaking, in 4th position. That AlphaTauri, of course, is hunting down Alex Bido. As you said, he's really exposed himself here, losing out on that DRS, but he will more than likely have that DRS back down the straight through Sector 2, which could help him. It could, but he needs to have a very good exit, I think, to hold off Shenjay here.
Just see the power of the DRS. Yoda's now 3.8 seconds behind some idiot in that fight for the 7th place. So he really has his work cut out for him, just trying to put in the lap times. Brownie also behind them seems to be the cork in the bottle for the back 10. The gap between him and Rhapsody now extending to 1.6 seconds. Of course, he is on the medium tires, which haven't phased quite into the GP yet. The softs still the faster tire for the moment. But the gaps do seem to sort of be extending, and the grid's difference in pace, however slight it may be, is starting to show as the laps continue to tick over.
It's about tire management, and these drivers, they all manage tires differently here. Not a lot of these racers are using assists. That's one thing I can say. We do allow a great liberty with the assists, but to be in Tier 1, I have to say, Mikhail, you can attest to this, it's really not going to get you that far. So all of these drivers, they're managing tires differently. You do have the few that run traction, things like this, and all that tire wear, even on these, 5-lap old softs, they're going to come into play. And you've got other drivers like Remco Van Putten, who we've seen race after race, who are absolute monsters on being able to stretch out long stints on tires. Yama and King.
We have the first 3-second penalty as yes, Yama and King going side by side into turn 4. Striffy and Yama are holding it around the outside, getting very close to the wall there. But S-King, he has his nose ahead, heading into turn number 5. What's he gonna do? How is he gonna make of this situation? Through turn 6, they go into turn 7, and it looks like S-King is gonna hold on to that position for now. But I doubt that Yamamoto is going to just be content with sitting behind. He's gonna really be looking to try and make an attack, because Nigel is within 3/10 right behind him. And this LDRS fiasco is going to continue on lap 6 of this race. At the front of the grid, Valu has made that gap 1.5 seconds between himself and Freeway. Freeway starting to struggle a little bit. And there goes Nigel around the outside, heading into turn 13. Absolutely crazy stuff. So Yamamoto now down back into 15th place on those softs. And I think it's around this stage in the stint where the softs start to lose a little bit of grip, a little bit of life, and the mediums start to phase in really nicely. So all these guys on the medium tires are going to be really feeling like they're in a good spot, and now it's their time to shine, Striffy. And let's see if Brownie is able to close back up to Rhapsody.
Yeah, and something else to talk about here is Microlander. He's been continuously hunting down Brain Stew. He's been biding his time. We're taking a look at both of these racers right now. They're within 1.2 of Shenjay ahead. Shenjay still hasn't been able to capitalize on Alex Bido. The big thing to talk about now is as Valu is leading this race 1.4 nearly seconds ahead of Freeware. This is going to expose Freeware to the drivers behind with that DRS. He's not going to have it on the leader of this race, and this is going to play in very well for Alex. And Shenjay wants to get ahead of him before he can get to Freeware. So there's a little bit of a team tactic happening at the front of this grid right now, as we've seen it happen throughout this season.
Yeah, both AlphaTauris. They're leading the constructors for a reason, Striff, and by a solid margin at that. I believe the gap between them and Mercedes is about 100 points. So they've been certainly putting in the hours, putting in a lot of work on the team front. That Alex Bido now is going to be really trying to put some pressure on Freeway. We saw this in the practice race as well between these two. These two, when they get into wheel-to-wheel combat, can be very, very aggressive towards one another. We'll see how things go here in this event when there is actual points on the line. But all this fighting has allowed Valo to get in, and looks like we have our first pit stops of the race. It is both Brainstew and Shenjay pitting at the end of lap 7 to go to a set of medium tires to the end of this race. So they're going to try the undercut, and the undercut is very, very powerful here, about half a second to even a second per lap.
A big gamble, I think, to get onto the mediums this early when we've seen potential for safety cars yet through these races. I don't know, the strategy has always been so dynamic in these tier 1 races. I had a little bit of a different plan in mind for those racers to come in this early to potentially go onto some hards, but then again, that's why they're racing and I'm sitting here talking about them going fast. Let's see Nigel right now. He's looking to hunt down that final points position for the time being in King Mikhail. King holding on in 10th with the Williams.
Yeah, I'm also curious about that Red Bull behind him, Yamamoto, who also picked up a 3-second time penalty while we were going on about other things. He's almost soft, so they are going to be starting to wear. He's going to really be starting to feel the wear. But yeah, Nigel just trying to find his way past. It's going to be very, very hard because Eskin is going to have that DRS off Remco, who himself is going to have that DRS off Brownie. So this train is still continuing. Brownie doing a very, very nice job to hold them off, and Brownie himself has actually made up 4 tenths on Rhapsody. So like I was saying earlier, the mediums are certainly the better tire to be on for the time being. Those worn softs are certainly going to be worn indeed. Freeware responding on the next lap, but Alex Bitter and Valo opting to stay out yet again. Microlander as well, some idiot staying out another lap to boot as well. Yoda also staying out, but I think that this undercut attempt is going to be very, very powerful and very, very scary. So I think Valo has certainly got to be at least the tiniest bit of concern that Shenjay could end up jumping in by the time that Haas driver makes his way into the pit line.
Remco van Booten, the Dutchman, of course, hunting down Brownie quite closely, I will add, as well, as he's pulled a little bit away from King. I thought he might have had a look down into turn 1 here, but it's, as you said, this train very powerful.
This yellow flag set the one. That's Freeware. That's Freeware. He's gone around and he has to take to the escape road, but that is absolutely unfortunate scenes, unbelievable scenes for them. And just, yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I wasn't really quite paying too much attention, but I saw the yellow flag at the turn 2, and that was an AlphaTauri round. So Freeware's race has gone from pretty good to now he has his work's definitely cut out for him, as Brainstew was actually able to get that undercut. So I don't know if that had something to do with it. Maybe they were going side by side into turn 2 and Freeware just, missed his braking point or something. I'm not entirely sure. But Brainstew is now ahead of the other AlphaTauri, and he's now chasing down Shenjay with 1.2 seconds the gap. And Valo has now come into the pit strip, so let's see where he's going to be popping out. Has Shenjay made this 2-lap undercut work? Alex Bido follows him in as well, so Microlander for the Red Bull will inherit the lead of this race, along with some idiot in second place.
What unique strategies we're seeing now coming out of these racers. The undercuts have really been gambles, and we'll see now Valu exiting the pit lane in that Haas. Where is the rest?
Shenjay's now started the lap of this race. Let's see how's it going to go. Oh, it's going to be tight, Strip. It's going to be tight, but Shenjay has not done enough. Valu has successfully defended off the undercut, and he will retain the theoretical lead of this race. So that is very, very important for him. And of course, to go along with that, he'll have 2-lap fresher tires. But speaking of who's actually in this race, Microlander and Some Idiot, currently the gap just under, or around that 0.5 of a second mark. So we'll see if Some Idiot is able to mount a challenge. I don't think he will. But you never know. He has that overtake on that DRS. He's gaining at a rate of knots on the Red Bull, but I don't think he's quite close enough to make a lunge. We'll see if anyone is actually able to make a lunge. I think all the gaps are sort of just hovering around that 0.5 to 0.7 mark within all the trains. But yeah, just amazing, amazing stuff from Valley, who was able to put in the laps that he needed on those aging softs and able to successfully hold the theoretical lead of this race.
Well, Microlander's pulled the pin, and Some Idiot's going to stay out here, Mick. Very interesting call from Some Idiot.
That. He's been known to do that, push those tires as long as he can. Normally, well, historically been very, very good on the tires, able to keep lots of life left in them. But Microlander, yes, into the pit lane. We'll see where he's going to slot out. And there's a massive train actually behind the Haas. Looks like Valu on those fresh mediums. Of course, he's going to be trying to get past Jan as quick as he can. He's now going side by side through the kink of turn 1, heading down into turn 2, and I think he's cleanly ahead. Shenjay having an amazing view. There's a little bit of a wheel tap actually, and that has put Jan well offline, and Shenjay is able to follow Valu through, and now there's just Aphrodite in between him and Clean Air, as it were. So hopefully these two Haas drivers are able to make it a nice clean swap. I think Aphrodite pulling over to the right-hand side is going to let his teammate by, but he's right on the apex for Chenjay, so the team tactics are coming out for the Haas squad. Chenjay now stuck behind Aphrodite for at least the next few corners, and that gives Valo an opportunity to try and pull away and break that DRS gap that he needs.
Yeah, Aphrodite's going to play anchor now and hold up Shenjay as best he can, and Valu has already escaped a second away from Aphrodite, so this is playing out beautifully for him. Although Shenjay will have the DRS down the straight, it may have been for naught, as he might be able to catch up with that Haas, but of course, here goes the move. Down the inside.
Down the inside, later on the brakes, and yes, he's able to get the car stopped up in time. So Shenjay able to make that pass, probably at the earliest available opportunity that's feasible. But that has certainly cost him 1.2 seconds is now the gap. He's out of that DRS range, so he's really going to need to pull out something special to try and get back within that 1 second that he needs for that rear wing to open up on those main straights.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the drivers behind him. Of course, we have Brainstew and Alex Bido hunting down John right now. Alex Bido on the freshest tires of the trio, but it is going to be Brainstew very tight to the rear of that Alfa Romeo. We're going to lock on with him for a moment from Alex Bido's onboard, of course. And here we have the move from the Italian up the inside down into turn 2. How's it going to go for these guys? There goes Alex Bido looking at the inside, and John has had an issue. He's spun it off the curb, Mick, and he's gone into the wall.
Oh, that is super, super unfortunate. Freeway's going to go past him, as well as Sindako. And Yoda is right around the outside of him as well. So Jean...
Very unfortunate.
Yeah, he has that lots of damage on that front wing as well, Striffy. I'm not sure what happened to my mic there, but we'll carry on. Rhapsody getting past for P16 as well. S-King pick up a 3-second time penalty, and gaps again starting to extend a little bit, Striff.
This has been such an intense race. The gaps have been quite tight. Penalties, we haven't seen a massive amount of penalties here, but you know what else we haven't seen is a safety car. And if we see a safety car, that's when those penalties get magnified, as Brainstew now down through turn 13 dispatches the Haas of Aphrodite, and it's going to be Alex Bido up next to get into the points here.
Yeah, Alex Bido, he really has to make the move as quick as he can in order to stay with Brainstew. Of course, that will be quite the titanic battle. We've seen those two go at it basically all season long here on circuit. So it should be very, very interesting to see how they go. Valu getting it easily done past BTFU with the aid of that DRS. So now it's BTFU between Valu and Shenjay. We'll see how long that gap's going to hold up. But Valu has been showing amazing, amazing pace this race so far. He's been able to pull out a couple more tenths to the gap to Chenjay. That gap between those two currently sitting around 1.8 seconds, as opposed to the 1.2 that we saw when Chenjay was making the original pass on Astrodive only a lap prior. So Valo has been showing some incredible pace. We'll see if he's able to keep that up. But at the front of this grid, for those who haven't stopped yet, Immediate notably, 12 laps on those softs. We're now halfway through this race, and surely he's going to come in for some mediums now.
One stop soft medium here would be quite the performance. He's pulled 9.6 seconds out of the lead medium runner, considering, and Brownie has not been able to really tear down that gap. And here we have it. There goes some idiot now into the pit lane. Brownie, I have a very, very funny feeling Mikau could be on the reverse strategy.
Well, he did start on those mediums after all, so I'd expect him to be maybe going until, you know, around lap 18 or so, to then put on the fresh set of soft compound tires to comfortably make it to the end, as Valo will set yet another fastest lap with a 1 minute 33.939. To see what he's able to do. Chenjay still unable to make his way past ZFU, and as I say that, he now makes a move in the same spot that his main competitor did a lap ago, but that gap now is just over 2 seconds drift, so Chenjay definitely has his work cut out for him now. Meanwhile, these front medium runners who start on the medium combat tires are all still in this train together. There hasn't been much movement between those guys, but Valo is catching, and he is catching quickly.
Yeah, he's an absolute machine behind the wheel of that Haas this race. Alex Bido is looking at Brainstew. Within half a second are these two drivers, the Ferrari versus Mercedes. Earlier it was the Mercedes versus the Red Bull, but that is Microlander in 10th, 1.8 seconds off of this fight.
We'll see if Alex Bitter is able to mount an attack. I don't think he's quite close enough. Now that's Yoda actually picking up a 3-second time penalty. Not something you see every day from the Albanian, but that 3 seconds is certainly going to hurt him. Alec and Yamamoto as well, picking up yet another 3 seconds. So I believe he's up to 9, which is certainly less than ideal. But I think the DRS trains are starting to form yet again. Valo has made up 5/10 to the leading medium runners, this lead pack of 4. So we'll see what he's able to do. He makes up another like 3/10 through the final 2 corners. Chenjay now beating the fastest lap by, I believe that's only a couple milliseconds. So these two very, very even on pace at the moment. With Valo having that DRS on Nigel is going to help him a little bit down that main straight. Not really much action going on at the moment. Nigel looking very, very tight to the rear. There's a spin. That's Brainstew. He is completely out of this race at turn 2, and we have a virtual safety car, ladies and gentlemen.
Signs. That runoff coming through turn 3. Just outside of the exit of turn 2 there, where we saw Signs this season, of course, have his issue in Russia. That's where we've just seen Brainstew lose the car. Very unfortunate. So that is a retirement from the Italian, and now we have a VSC deployed as a result. Now we're already back.
Gone.
That was a very fast VSC, Mika. We're already back to green flag racing here, and it's going to be Nigel looking at King with the DRS.
Yeah, the gaps from that VSC actually have extended out a little bit. The one gap that certainly has it is this one between the 2 current race leaders, Brownie and Remco Van Putten. These two known to get in a bit of a tussle throughout the season and the race has gone by. So we'll see how these guys go. Remco just holding it within that 3/10 gap. I think that is certainly very close, and he's actually pulled the pin. He's making his way into the pit lane.
Well, that's very interesting to see. So he's the first of those lead medium runners to blink. Nigel hunting down King here with the DRS. He's just outside the DRS range of Valo. Look at the charge he's got on King. King has no DRS on the car in front of him. Nigel has so much pace with that DRS.
It's not just him with that VSD. Chenjay has pulled back 1.5 seconds. He's now half a second behind Valo, and the race is back on for the lead. Well, the theoretical lead, at least, of this Grand Prix. If you're just joining us, this is MRL Tier 1 action for Season 3, round number 17, here at the Sochi Autodrome. We're currently on lap 16 of 27, so 10 laps remaining once we across the line, or 11 laps, I should be saying. And we've had quite the race so far. Lots of DRS trains, lots of action, a bit of drama to boot as well. Brainstew, the only retirement so far, just crashing into the wall at turn 2. And there's an exchange, actually, as I said, for P15 in this race. That's Remco Van Putten using those fresh softs to full effect, slipping it up the inside, heading into turn 5. And that is a really, really nice move, and he'll have now some clean air. And Brownie getting a 3-second penalty as well. So it's all starting to unravel here when we're about, you know, 2/3 of the way through this race.
I just saw an end plate come off of a car here, and it was Sindako. Looking at the rear of Astrodate as Freeware overtook Astrodate, I think Astro was looking to defend and may not have seen Sindako coming, so there's been a chunk of damage taken on the front left of that racing point. That end plate is no longer there. Astrodate is going to pit as well.
Yeah, as well as him, all of the runners who started on those mediums into the box, basically all on the same lap. So we'll see how the undercut has worked for Remco Van Putten, as there's a lot of shifting on the timing tower, as there is a lot of cars in the pit lane. We'll see how things go when it is all said and done. Remco Van Putten actually has been able to undercut basically that entire train. So he is now about a second ahead of Brownie, currently in 10th place. But everyone has now made their pit stops that they need to for this one. So there shouldn't be any more pit stops unless there's a safety car or a crash. But we'll see what happens now. Chen holding on to that 7/10 gap between himself and Valu. Alex Bitter about 5.5 seconds behind them, and Microlander has him for company. He's only 4/10 behind the charging, the Scarlet Red Ferrari, I should be saying. And we'll see if he's able to make a move down at the turn 13 strip.
Shenjay, you're talking about close company here. Fastest lap of the race right now is Shenjay, a 133.926. What's significant about this is the leader of the race ahead of him, a 133.939, just 0.13 of a second separating these drivers. And here goes Microlander. He's gone into the rear of the Ferrari. There goes the front right end plate off of that Red Bull. And he is going to go straight into the pit lane as a result of that damage. And it's going to be some idiot inheriting a free position as a result.
Yeah, just didn't expect Bitter to be braking where he did. And, you know, just making that little bit too late. It is going to cost him a whole heap of time. He's probably going to be out of the points at this race strip. It's going to be super, super unfortunate for the Red Bull squad. Remco Van Putten, unsurprisingly, setting a new fastest lap of the race. But only by a few milliseconds, I believe, again. So these two leaders are certainly showing incredible pace on those aging medium tires. Chen able to pull back yet another 10th as well.
Yeah, Yoda's just made it ahead of Sindako, as King has made it ahead of Yama. King has made it ahead of Yama in the Red Bull. I was going to say BTFU, but BTFU is currently trying to hunt down Alex Yamamoto. Now, we have, of course, Sindako. He's lost a significant chunk of time due to that wing damage that he suffered. So, you're going to see him drop off of Yoda. Yoda, 1.3 seconds and dropping to Freeware ahead. Yoda.
Oh, Valor, sorry to cut you off there, Strip. There's a battle here happening for the lead of this race. Valor has to go defensive. It's compromised this run. Now Chenjay's within 3/10. It's now 2.5, making their way through turns 15 and 16. Is he able to stay as close as he needs? Valor getting the better exit, but Shenjay clawing it back with the help of that slipstream. He's got 40% battery. Valor only at 35%. This is when's Shenjay going to make his move? He has that overtake mode on, but he's struggled out of the last two corners yet again, Strip. He was closer, you know, half a lap ago. He probably could have gone for the dive if Valor didn't go defensive, but you just see the DRS is really keeping him in this fight, but Valor doing an exceptional job to keep the AlphaTauri behind.
Benji's not going to be too thrilled about that. Being in Valu's rear view, of course, he wants to be ahead of this race. Speaking of ahead, it's going to be Remco Van Putten flying ahead of Rhapsody on fresh soft compound tires, and Brownie not too far behind this action as well. He's in that scarlet red Ferrari looking to charge through, and there it goes. Up the inside into P9 is the German, and he is going to be looking to hunt down the Renault of Remco Van Putten ahead rapidly here. Yeah,
I can't wait to see how these two go, both on fresh soft compound tires, as well as fighting amongst each other. They also are lapping significantly faster than the few cars ahead of them. Sindako, of course, nursing that car around with that wing damage. So I expect the Remco and Brownie both to dispatch of the racing point as soon as possible. Might even be on this straight. We'll wait and see as the DRS and overtake is now on in full spring. And you look at the speed from the Renault. He's using that slipstream to the inside now for turn 13. Easy as you like. Hard on the brakes, but he locks up that front right. Goes a little bit deep, but he's now through. And now Brownie has to find his way past the racing point as well.
Sindako not going to be even remotely thrilled about this damage. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him come in here for a set of softs or something of the kind, but it looks like he might just stretch it out. It is just an end plate after all, but he is dropping positions, and he is going to fall out of the points soon here with these racers behind him. Brownie now on the exit out of the final turn, up the inside, as easy as you like, Mikhail. And you see Sindako, he even has the DRS, but he just doesn't have the ability in that car right now with this damage to get anywhere near Brownie, of course, because of the softs just the same. The pace is massive.
Michael Lennon setting a new fastest lap of the race. We're now down into the 1 minute 32s. But some idiot just in this battle for the final podium place is right on the back of this Ferrari. He's knocking on the door to the Spaniard saying, hello from the States. I am here and I want this podium. So you're going to give it to me one way or another. We'll see if he's going to have the speed that he needs to make a move. Both of them running fairly low on battery, but Summit still having the advantage there. Just saving it, using that DRS. You can see the red light flashing from the back of that Ferrari. But some idiot's still not quite close enough to make a move, as is Chenji for that illustrious P1 spot as well.
Some idiot, a little bit of a glide out there, but he's just keeping locked in on that scarlet red Ferrari. See what he's able to do out of this final turn. He's still within half a second here. A little bit of a tap into the dirt
21.
for Alex.
Yeah, let's see if he's going to use that overtake. He's not using that ERS mode. Oh, he's flashing it on and off. He's gaining, but he's not gaining quite enough. We'll see a bit further down between the two Williams cars, catching up to the limping racing point. Doesn't look like there's going to be any moves there either. But there is going to be a move with BTFU on Alex Yamamoto heading into turn 2. And that is the Renault driver cleanly passed on those fresh soft compound tires. He's now up into 12th place, and he's been having quite the stellar performance, if I do say so myself. No points to show for it just yet, but Nigel as well, trying to make his way back through on those fresher soft compound tires. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. Looks like there's been a tussle between the two. Williams are going side by side. Brownie's had an issue as well. He's the reason for that yellow flag. He's now dropped down into 11th place. The two Williams still side by side. S-King is going to be able to hold out in front through turns 8 and 9. Sindako now is going to get overtaken by probably both of these Williams cars.
I wouldn't be so sure about Rhapsody. I wouldn't be so sure about Rhapsody. He's on those mediums and they're really affecting him, but King is clean through here.
Brownie what has happened to Brownie?
That entire front right wing is missing on that car, and I have no idea what's caused it.
That's just heartbreaking. You see, he can't turn the car. He runs off again at turn 14. And he's just going to be trying to get that car back to the pits as quickly as he can. He still can't turn the car. You can just see how much that
has just dropped to submitted into turn 2 here. The racing point through now. Just crossing over the crest of turn 3 we go now, around the long turn. Does Alex Bitto have the ability to fight back here on the 4-lap older tires? No, that is the move done and dusted for the American. Some idiot now into 3rd position.
Yeah, it looks like we have 3 separate duels going on. For 1st, for 3rd, and for 5th. Yoda is within 3/10 of freeware and is really knocking on the door of the other AlphaTauri. So one AlphaTauri is defending, the other one's attacking. But they have to be wary of Remco Van Putten, who's now within 7/10 of Yoda behind them. So on those fresher, soft compound tires, he's trying to make his way to join this party. And he's certainly going to be a real threat to both of these drivers, Striff.
I think the softs were a big gamble here for a potential safety car, Mikkel, because they're not going to last at the end of this race with as much pace as the medium. I don't think, but we'll have to see how these drivers defend. Yoda with a very neat move on Freeware here into 5th position. Tight defense from Freeware, but that is, of course, Yoda into 5th.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of a tap as well. I don't see any damage to the wing from the offboard, but it certainly would have been very, very risky to try and fight that one. Yoda is pulled 6/10 now. Remco Van Putten within a 10th and a half. Now that becomes a 10th, half a 10th. He's now side by side with the AlphaTauri DRS overtake in full swing. He's even getting the slipstream as well from Yoda. They're still side by side, but Remco Van Putten having his car ahead at the exit, and he's going to be cleanly through for P6 in this one, and he's now going to be trying to use those softs to hunt down Yoda. But as you're saying, Striffium, these softs, as the laps continue to trickle down, are going to be losing their performance. So it's basically now or never as we see Sindako finally making his way into the pits to change that front wing and put on a fresh set of soft compound tires.
I think Freeware is going to be fine to follow a soft runner here for some time. As long as he can keep within that DRS, he'll be okay, because as soon as those softs go, he'll already be within that DRS range, and hopefully he'll have enough traction in his mediums left to do the fighting that he needs to do to get back into that 5th position.
Yeah, but it's just going to bring it back to the two leaders. They've still been in a deadlock of sorts. Chenjay just hovering around that 4 to 6/10 mark throughout the lap. He's unable to get the run that he needs out of the final corner. You can see Valu just pulls another 10th and a half through there. And Chenjay really needs to be, hitting that exit, because otherwise he's just going to be still stuck behind this Haas lap after lap. And we're now on lap 24 of 27, so only a handful of laps to go. And the AlphaTauri is certainly running out of time very, very quickly. So he needs to take some risks, or just fix that exit out of the final corner to really get the best run possible on Valor, or even just force a mistake out of the Haas. But that's Remco Van Putten getting past Yoda for P5 as I'm saying that. Freeware's dropping back, and Remco's now through for 5th place. As well as Nigel. He's making his way past Rhapsody into turn 2 as well. So there's still plenty of movement here in the dying laps of this race. But the one that I think everyone is going to have their eyes firmly fixed on is this one for the race win, as both of these I think neither of these drivers don't have any penalties. They're both penalty free.
It's been an absolute grudge match between these two now, with Chenjay now. DRS, is he going to have the look now? I think he might. Up the inside, Valu with a very, very interesting defense there, cutting back to the inside line through turn 13. It's gradually kind of defending off Chenjay there. But this is where things are going to get tricky. I think Chenjay knows that he's worried about it.
Let's see if Chenjay is able to get this exit that he needs. He just needs to be within, I think, 4/10. And it's better. It's better this time, but is it enough? Is it going to be enough battery? The DRS wide open. He's gaining on the Haas. He's gaining. But is he gaining enough, Striff? I don't think so. Valo just parking his car right in the middle of the road. This is lap 25 of 27. So 3 laps to go, including the present lap. And this fight for the lead is certainly starting to spice up a whole bunch. Now 2.5 tenths between them. Valo, you can see that light is starting to flash. They're dead even on ERS, Striff.
They are very, very tight in all aspects right now. Energy deployment. Tire wear is a little bit fresher for Valu, but he's been having to hold off Chenjay here. Of course, real quick, big shout out. Thank you very much for the raid of 9. Welcome in, Just Molars. I certainly hope I did not butcher that name, but we greatly appreciate your support, and welcome to round 17 of Tier 1 MRL action. Happy to have you all tuning in. My name is Striffium here from Canada. Joining me from the land down under in Australia is Mikkel, and we are having a cracking race here. Microlander very tight to the rear of Rhapsody, looking for this 11th position right now, Mick, and he's on these softs versus 15-lap-old mediums. And we were talking about how the softs are going to start to lose grip, and I think that we're getting to that crossover point. Of course, the fresh softs, they go a couple laps more than what we're used to with the starting soft compound tires because they don't have that quality wear on them, but it's very, very tight still in this fight for 11th position. Now we have it. Microlander with the DRS dispatching the Williams clear through into 11th position.
Another lap goes by and Valu's pulled another 2/10 on the AlphaTauri behind him. The DRS and slipstream is going to allow Chenjo to catch back up to the Haas. But Valu is getting the speed, he's getting that traction in all the right places to just keep that AlphaTauri behind. You know, Chenjo, I think he really needs to just focus on those last 2 corners and then he'll have a run. But he's only realistically got 3 opportunities left. He's got the back straight between turns 10 and 13 on this particular lap, and then we're on the final lap of this race. So he only has 3 DRS opportunities left. He's very, very low on battery. Valu not doing too much better, but I think those 2-lap fresher tires on the Haas are certainly going to be helping Valu stay ahead. But I'm very curious to see how this race is going to pan out, especially well, all the way down this grid, in fact, because Yoda is now back within half a second of Remco in this battle for P5, and there's a close fight between Freeware and S-King, as well as Nigel and BTFU further down in the lower end of the points.
Tons of battles happening, and the big question is how are penalties going to shape up this grid as we have these little pockets all over this circuit right now, Mikhail, and it's Valu who is going to lead us through into, of course, the final lap of this race. The Haas driver with Shenjie on his gearbox, less than a second behind right now between these two for this race win. Crossing through the final turn, Mikhail, we have begun the final lap of this campaign. Welcome to Sochi. It is lap 27. Shenjie now with the DRS. Not a lot of battery in utilization, and there's quite a few racers on this grid holding on to very little energy deployment, and Shenjie is going to have to be very, very crafty here due to the lack of energy in this car.
He has to force a mistake. Valu has been driving exceptionally throughout the entirety of this race. So, but I think the only real opportunity that Chenjie has is to force an error. As you can see, Chenjie, he's really pushing that car as we make our way into Sector 2 for the final time in this race for the 2 leaders. And Valu, he's pulling away. He's using that clean air to good effect. He's now pulled another 10th and a half. Now 5/10 is the gap between these two. And just keeping things nice and tidy. I don't think Chenjie is going to quite be close enough. It really depends on the exit. How is it going to go? Valu getting an exceptional exit. He's been able to pull another half a tenth. But it's those half of the tenths, you know, the small gaps that matter. And Chenjie is nowhere near close enough to go for a lunch. So Valu, if he's able to keep it clean, I think he's got this win in the bag.
It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight. It's a lot of pressure here. Lap 27 now. Valu coming through. Penalties. I don't believe they have any, as you said.
S-King's out of this race on the final lap at turn 10, but never mind that. It's gonna be Valu coming across the line to win the Russian Grand Prix for MRL Season 3 Tier 1. Chenjie will come across 6/10 behind in second place, and some idiot will finish off the podium in third for Racing Point. Alex Bitter doing his classic spin over the finish line will pick up the 4th place. Remco Vedpuden in 5th. Yoda in 6th. Freeware will come across in 7th place. BCFU holding off Nigel on those soft compound tires. He'll take 8th. Microlander actually jumping Nigel on penalties for 9th place, and Nigel will be able to secure that final point in this one. But what a race, and super unfortunate for S-King. He was running in the points and then just lost it at turn 10 and just couldn't save the car in time.
What a race this was. Just rapid succession of cars coming to the line now. It's 27 laps around one of, as you said at the beginning of this cast, one of the most controversial circuits. I imagine a few drivers in this one not too thrilled, but I think everyone will be able to breathe a sigh of relief, Mikhail, as next week we will be, of course, going around the iconic, the monstrous, the epic Suzuka. We're going to have the Japanese Grand Prix round 18 next week, of course. For those of you who tuned in, we are going to have a few closing statements, but don't go too far because we are going to be rating a member of the F1 stream community. As always, we greatly appreciate you all tuning in. That was a fantastic race. It was just pure intensity, so many different battles. But it is Valu with that race win. Shenjie with a very hard fought race securing P2, and it's some idiot in yet again another podium appearance, this time in the Racing Point coveralls, which I'm sure he'll be thrilled about.
Absolutely incredible. You know, Valu, well done to Valu. He had a stellar drive throughout the entirety of that race and through qualifying as well. He was able to pip Chen Jie for that pole position and then just didn't look back. You know, he got a great start off the line. He was able to keep Chen Jie behind even under immense pressure. You know, and even with that undercut attempt that Chen Jie tried, it wasn't quite enough.
Just a tight race. Just a tight race, and that front row stayed the same. Not much else did, though. Some idiot from 6th to 3rd. Alex Bitto from 5th to 4th. Remco van Putten, 13th to 5th in this one. We have Yoda from 10th to 6th. Freeware dropped back a significant amount. He's lost 4 positions where he began. He began in 3rd. BTFU from 18th to 8th. Superlative drive from him in the Renault, considering all of the unique situations. He also didn't acquire any penalties through this one, which is a feat of its own in Russia. Fair enough. A few drivers did the same. No penalties for them. Microlander in 9th. Nigel rounding out your points finishers here. Nigel from 19th to the points today in the Alfa Romeo. Love to see it.
Yeah, really stellar effort from Nigel there, from not being able to set a lap to be able to secure a point. And BCFU as well, getting the in-game proclaimed driver of the day. He had an amazing one, making up 10 positions up into 8th. Again, another driver who was unable to set a valid lap time during qualifying. So really great effort from them, and really great effort from all of the drivers here around Russia. It's not the easiest circuit to overtake, and certainly those track limits are very, very scary indeed. But well done to all these drivers. Unfortunate for those who did have issues. Of course, S King on that final lap, Brain Stew at turn 2, and all those who got caught up in collisions and spins alike as well.
Tons of drama, as always, in these races. Tier 1 so intense, everything's so tightly packed together, and these drivers, they all want to get these massive points as well. And of course, we hope you all enjoyed it. If you did and you're new, help us out. Hit that follow button. We would greatly appreciate it. Of course, if you're interested in racing, join the Discord. We have tons of racing action, practices, open lobbies, things like this. We're always looking for new applicants for the league, and we will be, of course, starting up Season 4 following the conclusion of this season just ahead of Christmas. So we will be starting Season 4 nearing the end of January. So that is something to look forward to. And of course, we're always looking for more members as a result of that. So get in the Discord, get in while you can, because I can assure you, the slots to race are going to go fast, aren't they, Mikal? A lot of people looking to race.
Yeah, well, with the grid as competitive and as tight and as fast as this one, you know, you'd be hard pressed to not want to have the opportunity to race, in such a tight and compact and clean field. There's absolutely incredible racing. We saw the tight gaps in qualifying. We saw that the tiniest mistake can mean have significant consequences. But with Season 4 on the horizon, as Season 3 is starting to come to a close and the championships are all starting to sort of finalize, it be set in stone. It's exciting times ahead, and as we come towards the new year and the real F1 season coming to a conclusion, there's going to be a lot of special events throughout the holiday season. So be sure to look forward to that. And but thinking short term, be sure to join us tomorrow for the final race around Sochi. That is the club division, of course, at 8 p.m. GMT. That is tomorrow at 8 p.m. GMT for the club race, and I'm sure that Striff and Unicorn will be more than happy to see all of you lovely viewers there for that one as well.
That's right, we will. Yeah, it's club division tomorrow, of course. Thank you so much, everybody. That is going to be it for us. We are going to raid, of course, and we will see you tomorrow for more racing action.